Hello everybody and welcome back to Minecraft in our talking about Redstone world. And we're going to continue where we left off, getting a little more technical. So, I've got a couple things we're going to talk about today, and then a couple examples over there where we're going to take a deeper look at them. And for the Bedrock folks, I have gotten my Bedrock launcher working. I was having some kind of conflict with the Vibrant Visuals. It's solved now. I have yet to get this rebuilt in Bedrock, because I just figured this out. This is why this video is a little bit late. But for next week's, I should have this entire monstrosity built over in Bedrock to make sure that it works correctly as well. So, you'll get that update next week. Thank you for your patience. This week, we're going to start off, though, with a Incrementer and Decrementer. This thing, as you can see, is a little bit weird, a little bit of a nightmare of comparators here. But basically what happens is, we have our inputs. As you can see, this one increases by 1, and this one decreases by 1. Which are being run through monostable circuits. And the reason we're running them through a monostable circuit is so we can get a 2-tick input. Because if we use a longer input, as we can remember from our first lesson over there, or second lesson, the one where we talked about input methods. Yeah, here, number 2. So, we talked about the difference in buttons, and a wood button has a signal strength, or a length of 15 game ticks. So if I press this, well, it counts up quite a bit, and that's because for every 2 ticks the input is on, it increases by 1. So if we do a full button input, it raises and lowers this significantly, which is not necessarily what we want. So, this is a little bit of a nightmare to look at, but at the end of the day, what we're doing is we are creating a lock to hold a signal, and we are increasing based on the input into here, which is going to cause a toggle through our little comparator circuit here, where that powers off and then this powers off, and it creates a little bit of nonsense. And basically, we're using this to lock a certain value until we reach a comparative value. So right now, this is holding a value of 15, which is the max, and it's outputting that 15 here. Let's lower that, and you can see this is putting out a lower value. If we lower this all the way to 0... this is putting out a signal strength of 15. I really should get one of those data packs that allows you to see the values on these. That would actually make this explanation a little easier. Maybe I'll get one of those before next week and we'll come back and just take another look. But for each time we increment this up, we're basically opening this latch long enough to decrease the value by 1 point and increase the output value by 1 point. From the opposite end over here, we have another lock. This is a full cake, so it's a power 15. Coming into the side of this, when we activate this, it has to output a power of 15 for this to do anything. And it will run a subtract between what is there and the power being put in to reduce this by 1. So it's a little bit of a mess, but honestly, as long as you can figure out the pattern of how this is built, making sure, of course, that the ones that are in the subtract function here, 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 and here remain that way, you can just take a screenshot of it and build it, and it'll do what it's supposed to do. But there's some really interesting math happening that I personally tend to enjoy. But when we run this, let's just do this real quick. We get an input to every active part of the circuit. What if I don't want that? What if I only want the current one selected? Well, that is where we get a Redcoder. So what this does is two things. First, we have power coming through this block into this line of redstone. Let's increase this to, let's say, 3 or 4. So power is... So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're at 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So power should be through to this one right here. That's what I wanted to do, but not there. So, if we come around to the other side, through the bottom here, you can see there are a series of repeaters pointing off from each of those into the front of these blocks, turning off these torches at the bottom, with the exception of the first one, which we'll talk about here in a second. So that being off allows this to be on. But this being off should allow this to be on. Why is it turned off? We are decreasing value by 1 and coming up along here. So where we have a value of 4, which reaches here, the value of 4 does not reach this one. The value of 4 reaches here and is powering this repeater to turn this torch off. So, we've created a system where we lock to where we will only ever allow one output at a time. And this will work with our incrementer or decrementer. I just built this over here separately with an item frame because it's really easy to explain it this way. Now, for the first one, we have a really easy situation where all we have to do is say it is on unless we have a power of 2. In which case, then it'll cycle to the 2. So let's switch over to this. Because there's no power to this, we're just not inverting this torch. Now, because we have power to this, we're inverting this torch, and then the normal system carries from 2 on however far you want to go. So, signal strength coming across the bottom, into repeaters, into torches, and then reduced by 1 signal strength coming across the top, into repeaters, into torches. That's a Redcoder, and we'll look at an example of one of these over there in just a minute. And this is a 7-segment display. It's the kind of display you'll see in, like digital clocks, for the most part. Every number is represented by some combination of these 7 segments. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If we wanted number 1, it's just those 2. And that's a 1. If we wanted a 7, we toggle that one on. It's a 7. If we wanted a 9, we could do that and that. If we wanted an 8, we would do... Well, technically, I apologize. That would be your 9. Forgive me. If we wanted an 8, we could do that. And if we wanted a 0, we would just turn off the middle. So that's a 7-segment display. And I'll show you how we can run these over here. We've got a couple things going on. This is a little bit chaotic, but we're going to break it down into segments. And then we're going to go look at that. So, first, we have the same incrementer decrementer with the same inputs. Ignore the purple for now. We'll talk about that in a second. But we have 1-tick pulse input, or I'm sorry, a rising edge monostable circuit input into a 2-tick repeater on both of these. This is the exact same incrementer decrementer. We've run the output into a Redcoder, just like the one we looked at over there. We have our power coming directly through here, and our power being reduced 1 and brought up over here. This orange segment is where we get a little weird. Each layer we are taking either across at this level for all of our odd, or all of our evens, 0, 2, 4, 6, and 8, or up a little torch tower here for our odds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Or I'm sorry, 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. I swear I know what I'm talking about, guys. Sometimes. And as you can see, we have torches coming off of each of these into these green lines. We'll look at those in just a moment. And off of the orange, we power the green lines from below. So this is spaced so that we can have one set of inputs on a clean line going out that responds to both the bottom even lines and the top odd lines. Right now, we are set at a power of 0. So, what we have active for a power of 0 is 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, and 7, but 4 is off. And that is because, when we come back here, these green lines each run in to one of these segments of our 7-segment display. And number 4 turns out to be this middle segment. So as you can see, very nice 7-segment display. If I increment this up to 1, we now show a 1, and our 1 line here is active. So we're not going to look at this for every number, but we are just going to quickly roll through them. There's 2, and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. But what happens when we hit 9? We could obviously, with this setup, go all the way up to a value of 15, but we didn't. We stopped here, because we can't represent that on one number scale. So that's where our purple line comes in. Our purple line is doing two things. The moment our value increases to 10, it's going to shut off the 9 line. It is going to send a signal through another rising edge monostable circuit into a second incrementer. This is just for display purposes so that I can show you we could absolutely run multiple of these in sequence. So that will count this up another point to here versus here where it's currently at. And we can decrement that here. So hypothetically, you could have multiple of these 7-segment displays next to each other, and every time this one rolls over, you apply a point to the next one. These, of course, will be built in sort of opposite order to the displays unless you... Anyways. Point being, you can use this incrementer to then supply, every time it resets, a signal to the next incrementer. So, coming along this purple line back this way, we enter one of our decay clocks, as we talked about before. Repeater puts out a 15, we get 15, 14, 14 back to here, 14, 13, 13 back to here, and on down. Right here, we actually have a falling edge monostable circuit, which means that when this initially powers, this does not activate. But when this unpowers, this will. So that's saying once the system is completely reset, increment the system once. And that's because it'll put us in our ready state where we have power here, as if we had a single bit of power off of our, what do you call it? Item frame. Jeez, I completely blanked there. So it just puts us back in a ready state to count as we go. Otherwise, we would be stuck on 0 for 2 button presses. So, let's see that in action. We increment up 1 there. We run the decay clock here. We send a signal through, and we are put in our ready state at 0. And this has gone up 1 more. It is now at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So, where could this potentially be useful? There's a couple places this could potentially be useful. First one that comes to mind for me, as you can probably tell from the target block there, is to make some kind of a mini-game, where the closer you get to bullseye, the more points you get. So there we have 3. There we have 1, so that should go up to 4. And let's see if I can get 2. There we go. So this should go up to 6. Now, obviously, this won't properly count score once you run a reset. We'll get to that in a moment. but it'll go up to 10, and then it'll increment you another point on here, as you just saw. So, building an archery minigame where you have to score points. Absolutely a valid option for this. There are ways that you can bank any extra points that would go over to roll and count, but we're not going to worry about that this immediate moment. What we're going to worry about right now is just what we've got here, which is a counting incrementer. And I'm sure you heard that note block go off, so let's come look at section number 2. This is another sort of silly use for a incrementer. This is a hunger bar for, let's say, like a Tamagotchi-like friend. So, what we have here is, over here on the white, our regular incrementer and decrementer setup. And then we are going into a zigzagging, what do you call it? Slab staircase to allow our signal to travel up. And every time we increment, we turn on the next light. And every time we decrement, we turn off a light and go down one. We'll talk about this and this in a minute, but let's talk about the stuff that's different on this side. So, this dark blue circuit. We have a Etho hopper clock, everybody's favorite. They're easy to build, they work great, they're super stable. With just a single stack of items in it, you could change this to be more stacks if you wanted a longer delay. But for testing purposes, this works out. Running into a rising edge monostable circuit, which runs into a randomizer, which has 8 stackable items and 1 non-stackable item, into a comparator, which gives a space of 2, so the only time this will activate is when our shears, our non-stackable item, gets ejected, which will put a signal into the decrementer. So there's a random chance at certain intervals of our hunger to drop, and when that happens, we get a little tone that plays, just as a notice that hunger has gone down. I was thinking about putting a tone on the increase, but I decided not to, and I'll show you why here in a second. So, here we have a set of item filters. These item filters are set up for different food items. And this is so that we can feed our friend, and we have comparators at every other one. So, our steak and cooked chicken will activate this and everything before. Our potatoes and rabbit will activate this and everything to the right. Our bread and carrot will activate 2 and everything to the right. And our beetroot and dried kelp will activate 1. So that means that the better quality food you feed into the system, the more points are restored. So let's drop this a couple more, for argument's sake. And 1 more. Let's come over here and grab a couple of food items. We're just going to grab 1 from each tier. And clear out a couple spaces in my hotbar. So, if I put in a steak, we get 1, 2, 3, 4, and a little tone playing that we fed our friend. If I put in a baked potato, 1, 2, 3, and a little tone that we fed our friend. We're going to decrement this again. Put in a piece of bread. And we got 2 back, and a little tone that we fed our friend. And a dried kelp. We're going to get 1 back, and a tone that we fed our friend. If we are at maximum 15 power here, we have this orange line that comes across. And all this is doing is locking all of our filters. So now, because our friend is full, if I put an item in, because he's full, it can't go down. It'll come to our denial filter here. That also happens if we put anything that's not a food item into the system. Additionally, if I put in multiple food items, the way that we're preventing spam here is the items will go through this hopper into this dropper, and one item will fire. This is not a clock, this is just firing once. When either A signal is received saying that an item has come in and through this filter set, which we send back through this green line, or B, we get a denial play that detects that something has come through either hopper line. We send a reset down here, which is just going to retract and extend this piston, allowing this to fire again. So if I put in 5 items, the first one goes through, we should get a confirmation on feeding, and that fills up. The next item will get denied. The system fires again. So, you're not able to overfeed. The system stops at a certain point, says, no, I'm full. And even if you put in a bunch of items, the system just kind of feeds them through one at a time. You can't overflow the system. It's at least relatively smart enough to not mess up in that way. What are the other 2 circuits we have back here? I didn't do these in the Bedrock world just for time reasons, because I've been scrambling to get Bedrock fixed, but they're also not necessary for the circuit. It's just a tune that plays when you are below a certain hunger threshold, which we'll get here in a second. We're just going to decrement all the way down. Just a little bit of a, stressful, notice, hey, your friend's getting low on health, and it shuts off at 0. I should probably change the timing on that, but there's a death tone as well. Anyways, it could absolutely make it to where this has a sort of AND gate function to it, where you can only activate this once both this is off and this is off. Actually, I might as well just do that I'll do it later, but all it would take is an AND gate so that both have to be off before that turns on. And then, of course, you can have some kind of reset to refill your friend's hunger. I didn't get that far just because it is a little bit beyond the scope of what we're... I didn't even grab that. What am I doing? Cool. And we drop food in and it'll feed back up. Perfect. So anyways, these are a couple of uses for these incrementers and decrementers. Just a couple off the top of my head. There are a ton of uses if you wanted to build mini games, if you wanted to build, adding machines, things like that. These can be useful circuits to know. And of course, being able to make a 7-segment display is always helpful as well. But I think with that, we're about done with the Java side. I showed everything that I needed to show here. So let's just go take a look and see how this is different over in Bedrock. I'll be back in just one moment. Alright guys, welcome back to our Bedrock world. There's a wandering trader down there. Like I said, we'll get the updated version of this built over in, or the updated version of this built hopefully before the next one, so we can just go over that. But for now, let's take a quick look. So, our Incrementer Decrementer. This is built exactly the same. As you can see, we just have a line showing power coming out. The only difference is our monostable circuits going in, but other than that, as you can see, that counts up 1. And this counts down 1. That's exactly the same. 7-segment display, as you may not be surprised to hear, does in fact work exactly the same. And it's all just about the input lines. And our Redcoder also works exactly the same. In case you were curious, there's the line off the back, there's the line of repeaters off the bottom, and here is the line of repeaters off the top. And our torches at the front. So this works exactly the same. This works exactly the same other than our monostable circuits. And this works exactly the same. So if we come over here and look at this one, we have our monostable circuits off of our target blocks, just like we did last time. We have our Incrementer Decrementer. We have our monostable circuit inputs here and here. We have our purple reset line, which does the same thing. A decay clock into an output here, which is used as a reset, and then a falling edge monostable circuit into this input to act as a reset once we hit 10. Our count works the same, though the tick speed on these refreshing is a little different. We look, we have the exact same setup of our evens coming across the bottom here into our torch towers, and our odds rising up into our torches. So we should be able to go 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and we should increment that by 1 and reset back to 0, which takes just a moment here. So this is working the exact same way. We take our purple line into an input for a rising edge monostable circuit into another incrementer, which just counts each time this system cycles over. Our target block works exactly the same way. Right now we're at 0. We land a bullseye, and this should go up to 3. We land around there. We get 2, so that'll go up to 5. And we land on the corner. We get 1, and that goes up to 6. So this works the same way, and I'm sure you heard the hunger ding over there. We'll go take a look at that in just a moment. Reset this. Reset runs again. We increment up to 10. And the system cycles back to the ready state. So this is, other than the monostable circuits, exactly the same. And we can go take a look at, well, let's just take a look at this monostable circuit real quick for our Bedrock players one more time. Pumpkin with a torch. We have the 2 lines here with a 2-tick delay repeater and a redstone dust. A pumpkin with a torch above the repeater. And then a block with a redstone dust, which we're using as our input, and we've got a button off of that. And this will go into a repeater, which puts out a 2-tick pulse. And over here, even the pixel art got repeated, though it's slightly different. We have the same setup. We have our Etho Hopper clock with a stack of items in it. And it tried to decrement, it can't because the system's out. It's fine. We'll fix that real quick. I didn't add the death tone or the low hunger tones on this one. Like I said, more for time reasons than anything else, but those work exactly the same way as before. I did add the tone for when you lose a hunger, the tone for when an incorrect item is put through, and the tone for feeding, though. So, this all works, again, exactly the same way, other than having larger monostable circuits. So, these do take up a little bit more space, but other than that, this works exactly the same way. We take the signal out here, and we take a side signal from this same monostable circuit into our audio tone. We take an audio tone output from our buffer chest hopper here, which just says you've put something into the system that isn't supposed to go there. Our reset runs the same way, just kind of cutting off the side of this instead of coming from over here to save a little bit of space. I feel like that went off but didn't go down. Anyways, if I put multiple items in here, it will only fire one at a time. Okay, so we lost a hunger and then gained a hunger. And we fed again. Perfect. And then we should get a deny tone. Perfect. So, this all works exactly the same way. If you wanted to build your own Tamagotchi-style friend in Bedrock, it's completely doable. Obviously, you would want to have more than just a hunger bar, but the same logic applies. You could have a cleanliness bar, where you have to put sponge in. Maybe make it to where there's a randomizer that determines whenever you eat, there's a small chance of decrementing cleanliness. Stuff like that. Gamify it, you can do that, I believe in you. But all of the core functionality here works exactly the same. So, this is all completely possible in both Bedrock and Java editions. With that, guys, I'm going to put myself in the loudest spot here. Thanks so much for coming along on the adventure. If you have any questions about Incrementers, Decrementers, about Redcoders, about anything we've talked about here, or if you have Redstone questions you'd like answered in future episodes, leave them in the comments, and I'll try to get to them as quickly as I can. And I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Oh, I'm breaking stuff. Bye.